this video is all about. In the next few minutes, we'll try to answer all your questions about monster trucks. We'll show you the inside secrets of monster trucks, from how they're made to how they're steered. We'll start with the thing you notice first about a monster truck, the tires. Then we'll cover the overall specs, like size, weight, horsepower, and cost. Next is steering and the hydraulic systems that move the huge tires. Most monster trucks have four-wheel steering. Without superior suspension, you can't steer. So we'll look at more shocks and springs than you've ever seen on any truck. Monster trucks have to stop on a dime, especially indoors. With tires that big, it's a Herculean task, solved with some very clever engineering. The body, and especially the frame, may appear to be built from scratch, but in fact, they may be the most standard part of the monster. Then we'll crawl inside monster truck engines. The engines come in the widest variety of any part of a monster truck. They burn gas or alcohol and range up to 1,800 horsepower. Delivering all that horsepower to those huge tires is the job of the drivetrain. As with most things on monster trucks, it's a mixture of the ordinary and the exotic. And finally, we'll watch race preparation as the drivers and mechanics get everything ready for side-by-side, car-crushing monster truck racing. So let's get started learning the secrets of monster trucks and what makes these monsters move up, over, and through everything in sight.
With anticipation I have cried, the pure frustration I can't hide. There is no day, there is no night, as your tears fall from the sky.
The first thing that everyone notices about monster trucks are the tires. In fact, when the monsters are trailered around or worked on in the garage, they usually wear regular truck tires and look kind of funny. The tires are so big, they can't even travel on the trucks from one show to another. They weigh almost 1,000 pounds each, including the wheel. That's about 2 tons of tire on each monster truck. And each tire is 66 inches tall. That's over 5 feet in diameter. The wheel rim is over 2 feet, and each tire is 43 inches wide. They're called flotation tires and come from those huge Terragator farm machines that are used to spread liquid fertilizer. They're called flotation tires because they float over the fields without damaging any crops. Monster trucks use them because they're tough and absorb the tremendous shocks created when monster trucks take 20 feet of air and land on a row of cars, shattering glass and scattering sheet metal in all directions. Of course, sometimes not even these tires are tough enough. The huge tires don't use much air pressure. Most drivers carry about 6 to 8 pounds in each tire. If the event is on concrete, the tire pressure is increased to 10 pounds or more. This creates less tire compression and provides more control. It also keeps the truck from bottoming out on the hard floor when it lands. A good set of tires can last several years, unless, of course, you hit the cars just right or wrong. That's important, since the tires cost over $1,500 each. That's more than $6,000 for a set, not including the spare, or $350 for each wheel. The specifications on a monster truck don't exactly read like the catalog at your GM or Ford dealer. Each monster truck is custom built, often by the driver. And while it's true that each monster usually starts with a regular pickup body, the similarity ends there. Most monsters weigh between 9,000 and 13,000 pounds, with almost 1/3 of that weight in the tires alone. They're usually as tall as they are wide, about 11 feet to the roof and 11 feet side to side. A typical monster truck, if there is such a thing, is about as long as any pickup, just over 16 feet. The wheelbase varies from 120 inches to 150 inches, depending on the builder. Fuel consumption, on the other hand, is another matter altogether. A fully blown alcohol burner will get 75 gallons to the mile. You heard right, 75 gallons to the mile. Or to put it another way, 70 feet to the gallon. On the other hand, a naturally aspirated or gasoline-powered monster will get 1 mile per gallon. Still not exactly the kind of mileage the American commuter is looking for. Fortunately, most monster trucks only race a few hundred feet at a time. As for speed, monster trucks are not built to set the world land speed record, but they can motor right along. Top speed is 50 to 60 miles per hour. Of course, that doesn't count when you're jumping cars. The steering wheel on a monster truck looks like a pickup steering wheel. As a matter of fact, it is. The steering wheel is only part of the actual steering mechanism. Power steering on the front is normal hydraulic steering for a heavy-duty truck like an 18-wheeler. There's a separate reservoir and pump. The hydraulic pressure on the front tires is over 1,800 pounds per square inch. The hydraulic fluid is running at 6 gallons per minute while the wheels are turning. The basic steering system is pretty simple, but not small. It's big enough to turn 5-foot wheels that are over 3 feet wide with a standard steering wheel. The axles on this monster are 10-ton Clark planetary ends with 5-ton Rockwell centers from some pretty heavy military equipment. The rear tires can turn independently from the front. How do they do it with only one steering wheel? It's all done with this little switch, which most drivers run with just their thumb or finger. It activates an electric motor, which in turn runs the hydraulic steering, this time in the rear. Because there's less weight, it only takes 1,400 pounds of pressure per square inch to turn the rear wheels. All suspensions used to be leaf springs. Now the newer trucks are going to coil, big coil springs. Since they don't build shock absorbers that are big enough and can still fit a pickup, you need more than one. How about 4 or 5 for each wheel? While the newer coil springs provide better control because they generate better travel, they also create more travel. These heavy-duty straps stop the suspension travel from going too far. The way these monsters can bounce around, they could bounce right out of their frames. Actually, the brakes aren't really monsters. They're just really clever. On most vehicles, the brakes are on the wheels, whether disc or conventional shoe. But can you imagine the size of the disc that would be necessary to stop a wheel this big? It's been estimated to take a 3-foot disc brake. Here's the brake on a monster truck. It's just an ordinary car or truck brake. What's important is where it is, right here on the differential. This way, the brake gets a 19-to-1 advantage before the power is carried from the differential. No more power, and the monster comes to a quick and safe stop most of the time.
Waiting slowly to what's going on. Should I close my eyes? I won't look until the vision's gone. I'll light an extra sky.
Most monster trucks start their lives like any ordinary pickup truck. They're usually 3/4 or 1-ton models. In fact, if you look carefully along here, you can see the original frame. Special supports are welded on to raise the ground clearance and provide needed strength. This truck's added a kind of bridge work, not only to stiffen the frame, but protect it when the truck lands square on a car. The bodies are unchanged from stock, except for 3 things. First, there's no bed in the back. Monster trucks aren't used much for hauling, so why carry the weight? Besides, this way it's easier to get to the fuel tanks. Second, you've got to move the door opening mechanism to the bottom of the door. No one is tall enough to reach a regular handle on a truck that's nearly 12 feet tall. And finally, there's the paint job. Some monsters, like Master of Disaster, use beautiful graphics, all hand-painted and lacquered for shine and protection. For safety, all monster trucks have roll cages and very heavy-duty seat belts. You can get really bounced around inside these trucks, even when you're careful. The engine is the heart of any monster truck. On Master of Disaster, the big block Cheb engine is blown, injected, and burns alcohol. Its 572 cubic inches delivers almost 1,800 horsepower to all 4 wheels. The blower is belt-driven for quick, sure response. Injectors are used just to get the fuel volume to the engine. It's like a shower when the engine roars. The injectors are pumping fuel at the rate of a gallon every few seconds. Remember, monster trucks only go about 75 feet per gallon, and they can cover 75 feet in a couple of seconds. The oil has to be special anti-foaming oil. If you used ordinary oil when you're running on alcohol, you'd have a bubble bath made of engine oil. While the engines can run pretty hot, often 250 to 300 degrees, the algae burners have no such problems. The alcohol evaporates so fast, it cools the engine and can sometimes even frost up the injector. Monsters are so noisy because there's no muffler system of any kind. It would cut into performance. That's why most exhaust systems come directly off the header, 1 pipe for each cylinder. To help keep some of the noise from blowing everyone out of the place, the exhaust is directed straight down into the ground. With 4-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering, delivering power to the wheels is no simple matter in a monster truck. The transmission itself is simple enough, usually from the original truck or even a car. It's often a Turbo 400 or similar transmission, but it's custom modified to take the huge increase in horsepower. After clearances are adjusted and bands tightened, the valve body is changed. While it started out as a fully automatic transmission, the valve body change makes it manually shifted. In a race that covers 300 feet and lasts 10 seconds, most of it going up in the air or landing on the ground, no automatic tranny can respond fast enough. And with all that bouncing, who could find a clutch? The transfer case is another matter altogether. This one is air-shifted and came off a 6x6 military truck. It can take the strain.
Furniture was gone. Woke up and eat me. Sleeping on the lawn. You know she loved me now. I find it hard somehow. I want to be by myself, coming back to the you. One time.
When race night comes, it's like the slow dance of giants, all gathering from hundreds of miles away to find the fastest and the best. It's fun, it's entertainment, it's also a lot of work. The trucks arrive half-dressed, their huge feet carried alongside as cargo. The monsters look uncomfortable in their street clothes, their traveling tires. But soon, each wheel is jacked up one at a time, and the real tires go on. Pressure is carefully checked and matched to the course. Fuel is measured and metered. Engines are fired. Steering is checked. Everything is inspected. Then, it's time to start the wild dance of monster trucks. The first runs are to check out the course and flatten a few cars. It's a monster truck's way of grooming the field. Then the matchups start for real, side by side. The first to the finish wins. You get oohs and ahs for taking lots of air. But going up doesn't mean you're going forward. Sometimes, often in fact, things break and have to be fixed between heats. In this case, Master lost its rear steering. The hydraulics failed and a straight bar was welded in to hold the tires straight so Master could continue racing that night. But the action goes on, non-stop until there's one winner. there you have it, an inside look at monster trucks, how they're made and how they run. Next time you see the monsters in action, maybe it'll be more fun and interesting. We sure hope so.
Stick in the